Running on Empty, a lesson in self-neglect. It's a story many of us know all too well, yet seldom acknowledge. We push ourselves to the brink, believing that our worth is measured by our productivity and our ability to meet the endless demands placed upon us. I used to pride myself on my ability to power through. Late nights, early mornings, and a calendar packed to the brim. I wore my busyness like a badge of honor, convinced that it was a testament to my dedication and resilience. Deadlines, commitments, expectations. I met them all with unwavering dedication. I juggled multiple tasks, always striving to exceed expectations, both my own and those of others. The satisfaction of ticking off each item on my to-do list was fleeting, yet addictive. I was the queen of yes, always putting others' needs before my own. Whether it was a colleague needing help with a project, a friend in need of a listening ear, or a family member requiring support, I was there. I derived a sense of purpose from being the dependable one, the go-to person. But somewhere along the way, the constant giving took its toll. The more I gave, the more was expected of me, and the less I had left for myself. My energy reserves were depleting, and I began to feel the weight of my own neglect. I hit a wall, emotionally drained and utterly depleted. The signs were there: the constant fatigue, the lack of enthusiasm, the feeling of being overwhelmed by even the smallest tasks. Yet I ignored them, pushing through with sheer willpower until I could no longer. It was a wake-up call, a stark realization that I had been neglecting something crucial: myself. In the pursuit of being everything to everyone, I had forgotten to be something to myself. I had lost touch with my own needs, desires, and well-being. This experience forced me to confront a truth I had been avoiding. I had to acknowledge that self-care was not a luxury, but a necessity. It was not selfish to take time for myself. It was essential for my mental, emotional, and physical health. I was running on fumes, pouring from an empty cup. The metaphor was painfully accurate. I had nothing left to give because I had given it all away without replenishing my own reserves. It was a cycle of self-neglect that needed to be broken. I realized that without prioritizing my own well-being, I couldn't possibly show up fully for anyone else. The quality of my interactions, my work, and my relationships were all suffering because I was not at my best. I needed to invest in myself to be able to give authentically and sustainably. It was in that moment of exhaustion that the journey of self-love began. I started to explore what it meant to truly care for myself, to listen to my body, and to honor my own needs. It was a gradual process, filled with trial and error, but each step was a step towards healing. I knew I needed to make a change, not just for myself but for everyone I loved. By nurturing my own well-being, I could be more present, more compassionate, and more effective in all areas of my life. It was a lesson in balance, in recognizing that self-care is the foundation upon which we build our ability to care for others. The struggle is real. Many of us find it incredibly difficult to practice self-love, even though we know it's important. We hear about it all the time, how loving ourselves can lead to a happier, more fulfilling life. But when it comes to actually doing it, we hit a wall. Why is that? Why self-love feels so hard? It's a question that has puzzled many. The journey to self-love is often fraught with obstacles, both internal and external. We are our own worst critics, constantly judging ourselves and setting impossibly high standards. Society doesn't make it any easier, with its relentless pressure to conform to certain ideals and expectations. Learning to love myself was not easy. It took years of introspection and effort. I had to unlearn so many negative beliefs that I had internalized over the years. I started journaling, writing down my thoughts and feelings, trying to make sense of them. It was a slow process, but it was necessary. It felt selfish and indulgent, a radical act in a world that constantly demands more. We are taught to put others first, to be selfless, to give and give until there's nothing left. But self-love isn't about being selfish. It's about recognizing that you too deserve care and compassion. Growing up, I wasn't taught to prioritize my needs or recognize my worth. Like many, I was conditioned to believe that my value was tied to my achievements and how well I could meet others' expectations. This mindset was deeply ingrained, making it incredibly difficult to shift my focus inward and acknowledge my own needs. Like many, I struggled with the fear of judgment, the pressure to please others, and the nagging feeling that I wasn't enough. These fears were paralyzing, making it hard to take any steps toward self-love. I was constantly worried about what others thought of me, and this anxiety seeped into every aspect of my life, This lack of self-love manifested in unhealthy ways. I found myself in a cycle of self-sabotage, making choices that were not in my best interest. My mental and emotional health suffered as a result. I felt trapped in a never-ending loop of negativity and self-doubt. I became a people pleaser, constantly seeking validation from others. I thought that if I could make everyone else happy, then maybe I would feel happy too. But this approach only left me feeling more empty and disconnected from myself. I was living my life for others, not for me. I silenced my own needs, afraid to set boundaries or speak my truth. I was terrified of rejection and conflict, so I kept my feelings bottled up. This only led to more frustration and resentment, both towards myself and others. I realized that I needed to change, but I didn't know where to start. Anxiety became a constant companion, fueled by the fear of not being good enough. It was a heavy burden to carry, affecting my relationships, my work, and my overall sense of well-being. I knew that I couldn't go on like this forever. Something had to give. Unlearning these deeply ingrained patterns was a process, but one I knew was essential for my well-being. I started small with daily affirmations and mindfulness practices. I sought therapy to help me navigate my emotions and build healthier coping mechanisms. Slowly but surely, I began to see changes. I started to feel more at peace with myself, more accepting of my flaws and imperfections. The journey to self-love is ongoing, but every step forward is a victory. The validation trap: seeking worth from the outside in. It's a common struggle that many of us face, often without even realizing it. We look to others to tell us who we are and what we're worth, hoping that their approval will fill the void within us. For years, I chased external validation like it was oxygen. I believed that if I could just achieve more, be more, and do more, then I would finally feel worthy. I pushed myself to the brink, always striving for that next accolade, that next pat on the back. I believed that my worthiness was determined by others' opinions, accomplishments, and affection. The applause, the awards, the hugs, they were all temporary fixes for a deeper issue. I was looking for something outside of myself to fill a void that could only be filled from within. If someone praised me, I felt worthy. Their words were like a balm to my soul, soothing my insecurities and making me feel seen and valued. But this feeling was fleeting, and I found myself constantly seeking more praise to maintain that sense of worth. If someone criticized me, I crumbled. Their words cut deep, reinforcing my fears and doubts about myself. I would replay their criticisms over and over in my mind, allowing them to define my self-worth. It was a never-ending cycle of highs and lows, dictated by the opinions of others. This constant need for approval kept me trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and insecurity. I was never truly at peace, always on edge, waiting for the next validation or the next criticism. It was exhausting, and it took a toll on my mental and emotional well-being. What I came to realize is that true fulfillment cannot be found solely in external sources. It requires a deep internal shift, a recognition that our worth is inherent and not dependent on the approval of others. This realization was a turning point for me, a moment of clarity that set me on a path towards self-acceptance and inner peace. Relying on others to validate our worth is like building a house on sand. It's an unstable foundation that leaves us vulnerable to disappointment and heartache. No matter how much praise we receive, it can all be washed away in an instant by a single criticism or rejection. It's an unstable foundation that leaves us vulnerable to disappointment and heartache. When we place our self-worth in the hands of others, we give them the power to build us up or tear us down. This makes us susceptible to emotional turmoil, as our sense of self becomes a reflection of others' perceptions. True self-love means recognizing our inherent worthiness, regardless of external circumstances or opinions. It means understanding that we are valuable simply because we exist, and that our worth is not contingent on what we do or what others think of us. It's about embracing our imperfections and celebrating our strengths, independent of anyone else's approval. It's about finding joy and contentment within ourselves and knowing that we are enough just as we are. This journey towards self-love and self-acceptance is ongoing, but it is one of the most rewarding paths we can take. Self-love is not a one-time destination. It's an ongoing journey of showing up for yourself, day after day. It's about making choices that honor your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's about setting healthy boundaries, saying no without guilt, and prioritizing your needs without apology. Self-love is about practicing self-care, nourishing your body with healthy food, engaging in activities that bring you joy, and allowing yourself to rest when you need it most. It's about cultivating a loving inner dialogue, speaking to yourself with kindness and compassion. It's about forgiving yourself for past mistakes and embracing the journey of growth and self-discovery. As I began to prioritize my own well-being, I noticed a profound shift in my relationships. When we love and value ourselves, we set a new standard for how we allow others to treat us. We attract healthier connections and are better equipped to navigate challenges with grace and compassion. Self-love empowers us to communicate our needs effectively and set healthy boundaries without fear of rejection. It allows us to show up in our relationships as our most authentic selves, without the need to please or pretend. When we love ourselves, we create space for deeper, more meaningful connections based on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine affection. Self-love is not about achieving perfection. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect, beautiful journey of being human. It's about showing up for ourselves with kindness, compassion, and unwavering support, even when we stumble or fall short. It's a lifelong practice, a commitment to honoring our worthiness and nurturing our well-being. As we learn to love and accept ourselves fully, we unlock the potential for deeper connections, greater resilience, and a life filled with joy, authenticity, and purpose. Embrace the journey of self-love and watch as it transforms your life from the inside out.